Hello students and welcome to lesson 4. This is about plant and animal cells. So every city has land and of course city limits or boundaries. We got roads for transportation, we have government, we have factories, we have power plants that supply everybody with power. We have warehouses where we need to store things. We have packaging facilities like Amazon has big packaging facilities and warehouses. We have shippers like FedEx, the post office, Amazon. We have garbage and recycling. And really, cells are the same way. All cells in the body have these parts. They just look different, but they function the same. Okay, so here is, we're going to talk about animal cells first. We have the nucleus and the nucleolus. So this entire thing is the nucleus, and in the center you have a nucleolus. Okay, and so the nucleus processes all the information in the cell. It's where the DNA is contained. The DNA would be here, like all of this stuff is DNA. Okay, it occupies about 10% of the volume of the cell. It's quite large. And the nucleolus is an organelle. So an organelle is just another word for organs. And all these little organs inside the cell are called, because they're tiny, organelles. And it manufactures ribosomes, okay? And ribosomes are some things that we'll talk about later that have to do with protein manufacturing. Okay, so that's the first one. That is the nucleus and the nucleolus. Next, we have ribosomes. We're going to call ribosomes like factories. They actually manufacture something. They make protein, okay? So they're factories. And we're going to see them in two places. We'll show them later. Here, all these little bumps over here, all these little red bumps that you see, those are ribosomes connected to the endoplasmic reticulum. Anyway, we'll get there. Okay, so now we have the endoplasmic reticulum, or ER, and these are factories for proteins, lipids, and steroids. So you can see what I have here. I have a factory picture and a warehouse picture. So hey, I just had somebody walk by my office. We have manufacturing going on. And we have packaging, manufacturing and packaging. The rough ER is mostly found around the nucleus. So here is rough ER. The nucleus would be here. If you see little bumps, that's called rough ER. And if it's smooth, it's got no ribosomes on it, no bumps, it's smooth ER. The rough ER manufactures proteins, and the smooth ER produces lipids and steroids. Okay. So we'll move to the next one. The Golgi Apparatus, again for packaging and processing. It's like the post office. It tells proteins and fats where to go. And the Golgi Apparatus also creates these things called lysosomes, which we'll talk about later. But here's the Golgi Apparatus. Looks sort of like the endoplasmic reticulum. And it tells proteins and fats where to go. Okay, lysosomes. These are the garbage trucks. They contain digestive enzymes that break down worn-out organelles, food particles, viruses, and bacteria. So lysosome is just a circle-y looking thing, looks like a sphere, and its job is to clean up the garbage, breaks it down, cleans it up, processes the waste. Okay, a vacuole performs a variety of functions. They isolate harmful chemicals, they store waste, they store water, They maintain pressure and pH. They do all kinds of things. What we're going to talk about is mostly as a storage facility. So here's a vacuole here, and it's filled with mostly water. Okay, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. It's the power plant. So here you see kind of like nuclear reactors generating electricity. Here's the wires, right? So the main job is called cellular respiration, which is fundamental for producing energy. You have to have energy. And if the cell doesn't have energy, then we can't do anything. So all cells, just like your house needs power, you need energy. Your cell needs energy, and it's these little guys here look like kidney beans. Last but not least is the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is a jelly-like substance that fills up the cells. It's made up of mostly water and salt, and it's used to suspend organelles. So I see that's kind of like the land of a city. All the stuff, all this beigey stuff, all these organelles have to float in something. That substance is cytoplasm. And of course, we have a cell membrane. We have this way to separate the inside of the cell from the outside of the cell. In other words, city limits, boundaries. Cell membranes made out of lipids and fats. And anyway, it allows certain substances to pass through, so it's semi-permeable. Here's a video that we can watch in class. Okay, moving on. Okay, and here are the parts of the cell. There's the nucleus, there's the nucleolus, lysosome, no bumps, smooth ER. That's the Golgi Apparatus. The rough ER, it's got bumps on it, it's got ribosomes on it. There's your cytoplasm, cell membrane, mitochondria, ribosomes. Notice some ribosomes are floating freely in cytoplasm. Others are connected to the ER. And then there's these other things called centrioles, which we haven't talked about. Okay? And on to plant cells. Plant cells are a little different than animal cells. Some of it is, many of the organelles are the same, but there's a few key differences. So where the animal cells have a cell, membrane, the outer part of the cell is very rigid in a plant cell. And it's made of this stuff called cellulose. Anyway, that cellulose is non-digestible for humans. So when you eat certain things in your salad, it's called roughage. Anyway, you don't digest it, and it's good for your bowels and digestion to have that stuff going through your system. Okay, but that's where we get that. It's when we eat plants, all of their outer layers are cell walls made of cellulose. Anyway, and this is what makes plants and trees kind of tough compared to, like if you think of a tree and tree bark, it's a lot more rigid than your arm. When you poke your arm, it's very, flexible and loose, right? So the skin on your arm. Okay, next. Plant cells also have these things called plastids, which contain chloroplasts. And chloroplasts are the magic, are the structures where the magic happens, and it's called photosynthesis. And photosynthesis means plants can make their own food, basically, out of sunlight and water. Okay, so photosynthesis is a big deal. If we didn't have photosynthesis on the planet, we would have no plants and no animals. Okay, all right. And plants also have these large vacuoles, we call them. And those are used for storage, basically. Typically, we see big containers with water in them. That's what we look at when we see these diagrams. That's what we'll focus on. So, here's your plant cell. There's your nucleus. There's your nucleolus. That looks very similar to the animal cell. We have smooth ER. We have plastids. There's the big one, the plastids. That is where chloroplasts are, and that's where photosynthesis takes place. There's a big vacuole filled with water. And there is our cell wall. Notice this is kind of more boxy. And the next part here, let me put these all on. Where an animal cell has kind of got like this round, mushy shape, you know. These are a little more rigid, a little more box-like. And this part here is the next cell and the next cell. So they sort of fit together almost like little Lego pieces. Okay? Yeah, this is a cell wall of another cell. There's a lysosome, the garbage cleaners. Little dots again can be floating in the cytoplasm, ribosomes, or on the rough ER, you have ribosomes, mitochondria, the powerhouse. There's the Golgi Apparatus, the rough ER. Okay, so plant cells are very similar to animal cells, except this outer part is different. The vacuoles are a lot bigger, and these things where photosynthesis occurs. Okay? All right, if I was in class, I'd show you these videos. But anyway, there you go. We'll talk more about photosynthesis in Science 24. Okay?